This show is powered by BL3P, the Lightning-enabled European Bitcoin exchange.
Connect the build.
Maya Parbhoe, Daedalus Labs, and Bitcoin Sranan in Suriname.
Suriname is a small country located in South America, known for its diverse culture, stunning natural landscapes, and unique history. It was a former Dutch colony and gained independence in 1975. Suriname is rich in natural resources like gold and bauxite. Gold mining and bauxite production play significant roles in the country's economy. Do you think Bitcoin mining should be added?
Yeah, actually already working on that.
Guanabana, also known as soursop, is a tropical fruit that's prized for its delicious flavor and potential health benefits. It's native to the Caribbean and Central and South America, and it's particularly popular in Suriname. Is guanabana or zuurzak your favorite fruit?
Not really.
Adam Levine is best known as the lead singer and frontman of the pop rock band Maroon 5. Born on March 18, 1979 in Los Angeles, California, he's not just a vocalist, but also a songwriter, guitarist, and television personality. Levine co-founded Maroon 5, but did you know he originally named the band Kara's Flowers?
No, I didn't.
Is it true that you hate networking?
Very much so, yeah.
Curry duck is a popular Caribbean dish. The meat is traditionally marinated in a combination of salt, pepper, cumin, curry powder, hot peppers, cilantro, scallions, onions, and garlic. Once prepared, curry duck is usually served with either rice or roti on the side. We think you prefer your curry duck with roti. Is this true?
No, with rice.
Do you own a pet?
Yes.
Do you speak Dutch more often than Sranan Tongo?
Yes.
Nusa Lembongan is a small island located southeast of Bali, Indonesia. It's part of a group of 3 islands known as the Nusa Islands. Lembongan is the most popular of the 3 for tourists and travelers seeking a more laid-back, tranquil experience compared to the bustling atmosphere of Bali. Is this your favorite holiday destination?
Yes.
Do you read for more than 20 hours a week?
Yes.
Are you Satoshi Nakamoto?
Yes. The founder of Bitcoin, my idol.
Welcome to the Connected World Weekly Podcast. I'm Edward.
And I'm Steph. We are ready to take you with us into the beautiful world of the Lightning Network.
Enjoy the ride. This is episode 92 of Connect the World, and this show is made possible by our friends from BL3P, the European Bitcoin exchange located in the Netherlands. Thank you guys for helping us with our mission. And if you also want to help out, well, you know the drill. Follow us on Twitter, and subscribe at our YouTube channel. And if you have any questions, then head over to our Telegram group and you can ask us everything. And of course, a donation is always welcome. Conecta el mundo.
Welcome, Maya.
Maya, welcome. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hey, the thing is, I saw that you stated in another interview that you hate networking. And I was thinking, because you're also organizing all those meetups and Bitcoin, all the conferences you are attending. I mean, in my opinion, those conferences are all big meetups. It's all about networking. So
Yeah.
how come? What's the big deal then?
Well, I mean, I'm really good at it. I'm really great at networking, connecting with people, and making new friends and also business relationships. But I don't know, I just hate doing it. I'm more of an introvert, I guess. So I like just my kind of like OCD schedule, just being home and having my computer and doing my routine. This is too much out of my routine for something I think should be just you should just be able to do through Telegram, basically.
And you need to go out there and then do it yourself.
Outside.
So it takes more
Why?
effort. Yeah, outside. Yeah. Or the what you're saying about working inside and just having your routine. That's I can relate to that. It's
but you're
it's calm and
you're artistic, Edward. So
yeah. No, but it's the same with wedding photography also. Because that's what I also do. Introvert people can also be a great person to be on a festive day, right? To just blend in, because it's also the difficulty with networking is that you're blending in, but you also need to speak, right? You need to really connect and get to know the other person, listen to them, and that takes a lot of energy
for an introvert. And I just like I like to be efficient, so I like focusing on the business and building, and I feel like networking is just an unnecessary part of business.
That's absolutely true. There's
Necessary,
so
but
much
very
time.
unnecessary.
Just it takes too
I'm,
much
I'm
time.
more of a gezellig type, so I really like to network.
Being with Steph takes a lot of time.
that's correct. That's
The only thing is smart to do at nighttime, because he always goes to bed very early. So that's saved by the bell, right?
Yeah. Oh, well, within 1.5 hours, I'm in bed. That's for sure. No, but talking about a lot of time, you read more than 20 hours a week, Maya. What are you
That's
reading?
a lot.
I mean, there are a lot of books about Bitcoin, but not enough to.
And how do you have so much
20
time?
20 hours a week on, right?
That's a lot.
Well, I spend a lot of time on research. So I read a lot. Everything that comes out basically in the industry, I try to read and be aware of as much as possible. I do a lot of research myself. So, anything that's applicable to the business, I need to do research on. So then I spend a lot of time researching certain protocols, certain new developments. And I also like to follow, because, from a business perspective, you have to be aware of geopolitics and, market conditions internationally and everything that might affect your business, basically. So you read a lot of news. And if you combine research and news and just my general curiosity, then I tend to just read in all my free time.
But did you also read, for instance, the Mastering the Lightning Network from René Picard and
I haven't. Yeah, I haven't read all the books. Like between working and researching what's relevant, to our business and what we work on. I don't get to all of the books, to be fair, and to be honest.
And is your curiosity also standing in the way? Because I can imagine that if you're reading something and then you just dwell into reading things that aren't necessary but are interesting.
Oh no, I have a very structured life, so I tend to work. I train or exercise at 8 in the morning. Then I start my work day at 9. And then I work almost the entire day until I go to bed. And then when I, like in between, when I have time free, then I read. And we use Asana for project management. So I have my tasks and my focuses the entire week, basically. So it doesn't.
And you said that you were working on Suriname to add Bitcoin mining to the mining of gold and bauxite. Can you tell us more about it, or is it still a big secret?
Oh, well, actually, no, it's definitely still a big secret. But we've worked, the other resources, for example, that we have is oil. So it's not just gold and wood. We also export tuna and fish. So we have a very diverse range of resources. And there's currently more development, more being invested into development of agriculture. But yes, I believe in building a circular economy from the ground up and using just basic economics and looking at how, for example, other circular economies have been built. A lot of them have been focused on, developing, for example, something with tourism or something with education and trying to make it circular based off of payments that are made to staff. whereas I would like to build an economy actually from the ground up. And so then mining becomes a large component. And if you look at Bitcoin, as hard and sound money as the basis of that, then you need mining as a component of it. That is where you convert energy into the currency. So you're not dependent on donations from other people. You're not dependent on tourists to come in and pay for services from locals, because then you get gentrification, Dutch disease,
Yeah.
for example, which we're also facing in the oil industry. So how do you solve for that problem in circular economies? And I was looking at other ones, and Bitcoin mining, I myself mined into 2018 with 20 ASICs, S9s. So I wanted the mining component to be part of the circular economy. So we've been working on that since May.
Cool. I'm mining right now. There's a
Cool.
S9 next to me, but I just thought
Keeping his legs
I
warm.
just told Edward before the recording, it's getting freaking hot in here, man. so yeah. So it's but it works. I mean, I don't make a ton
it's
of money
going to
of it.
get cold outside, so I think it's a great moment
the thing
to
is,
start with it.
I don't want to heat this whole. I don't want to heat my whole house to just record a podcast over here. So this is a good way for me to just only heat this room. So, but and by the way, Maya, we saw a snippet of a announcement you just made about a conference in Suriname, or a big event in Suriname.
Yeah.
Maybe you can tell us all about it. We are going to give away a couple of tickets. That's a scoop we can give away right now, but you have to listen to the whole episode. But maybe you can tell something about it.
Yeah, so we're organizing a conference on the 23rd to 25th of March. The first 2 days will be, panels, talks, speakers, and the booths for general attendance from the Surinamese people. The focus is to attract innovation and companies that can partner with local companies, services that we can use, and increase tech, innovation and development on Bitcoin here, and popularity among it here. And on the 25th is Parbhoe, which is a huge festival that we also celebrate here. And, more than 100,000, 50 to 100,000, depending on how many events are happening at the same time, attend those events throughout the day. And Paramaribo has about 240,000 people. So we're going to use that as a mass orange pilling event. So we're planning that at the moment, and working on releasing as much information as we can when it's appropriate.
Cool.
Awesome. That's
So this is just the first announcement.
Yeah, it's supposed to be an
Great.
interactive conference, so we're going to build it up, but we don't want to release too much before everything's formalized.
Cool. But if you want a ticket, just hang on, and we will give away some at the end of this very episode. So, but cool, yeah, Maya. Well, let's talk about Bitcoin Suriname and Bitcoin Sranan. But it has to be in the 21 minutes. So we prepared a lot of questions about it, but it has to be in the 21 minutes. So if you're ready for the 21 minutes, we would like to enter that part.
Sure, let's go.
Let's do it.
Conectează lumea.
And before diving into the Bitcoin Sranan community that you're building, we want to dive a little bit more into Suriname and its current economic and cultural climate. Because in an earlier interview, you also mentioned Suriname's strategic location on the northern coast of Latin America. Can you elaborate a little bit on how this geographical positioning benefits Suriname in terms of trade and economic development, for example?
Okay, so Suriname is a small country on the northern coast of Latin America, right between Guyana and French Guyana, right above Brazil. We were a former Dutch colony, so our former colonizers actually traded Suriname for New York. So the English got New York, and Suriname, the Dutch got Suriname. It was strategically used for one, its resources, gold, one, its location on the northern coast. Basically, the way that the country and the city is situated, it's on the northern coast, can be well defended, properly defended, and it's strategically located within near the Amazon, for logistics, for example. We faced issues with dredging in the past, which has decreased
Yeah.
our capacity at the port. And our economic situation at the moment is not very favorable. Same as every other country in Latin America. But basically, we have 2.8 billion GDP, about 550 to 600,000 people, according to latest statistics. So it's a fairly small population. Tech can have a massive impact here, and a country with a $2.8 billion GDP is a fairly small company in comparison to other countries. So the challenge here is smaller than in for example in El Salvador, where you're dealing with millions of people. You have a lot of legacy incumbents, so you can innovate here in a way that you cannot in developed markets or in El Salvador. And in terms of trade, there's opportunity to increase infrastructure to the other countries that we're bordering, and we can get more ocean cargo. For example, if you look at trade routes internationally, Singapore was ideally located and had a strategy to attract more trade. That is something that we can implement in Suriname, something that has not been looked at regionally yet.
Cool. And what are the biggest challenges Suriname faces in realizing its potential as a new economic center?
Well, some of the challenge, of course, is Dutch disease. The energy transition, because we're highly dependent on oil and other resources. We have major offshore oil finds right now. So you have Total, Apache, Sol are all drilling offshore. So there's massive development going to be taking place over the next couple of years. The question is, how do we diversify? How do we prevent Dutch disease, and how do we deal with energy transition? So I'm dealing with those aspects from multiple angles. One is in collaboration with MIT, and the other is the Bitcoin strategy. When I started on this 6 years ago, it was always the intention to make sure that the country diversifies, looking towards 2030, 2050. And then we need to look at the latest technologies and what we need to be focusing on and developing on. And I believe, as a Bitcoin fanatic, basically, I came in touch with it in 2014, started mining 2017 and 2018, increased the number of miners. I fell in love with the technology itself and the core of it, Bitcoin being hard money. And I wanted to implement that starting 2018 into our strategy for capital market development, because we don't have one, right? But we do need to scale for that oil industry and that oil boom that is going to come starting next year. So we need to focus on development and need to be very strategic about it, which is why Bitcoin and why I'm still, plowing along.
Yeah. Hey, and in an article in a Dutch newspaper, I read that Suriname is experiencing a brain drain. And a brain drain means that many young Surinamese choose not to return after studying abroad. And of course, for developing, you need to have those people sticking inside the country. But they, of course, want better economic opportunities. In your opinion, what are the key factors that influence their decision to stay abroad, and what do you think within now and 5 years can be done against it?
So we're experiencing brain drain basically because of inflation and the economic situation here.
Yeah.
And as you stated, opportunity. So
The inflation of food was 60% last year, right? I read something.
Yeah, so we've been dealing with higher cost of living, and the salaries haven't kept up with inflation. So that has been an issue. We're very dependent on imports. We're an import economy. We don't produce enough to provide, most of the products for ourselves. And also a lot of things don't make sense for this market to produce here because you're limited in terms of population. So that in itself creates its own challenges. So you can't say like, okay, all of these talent can develop their own company. It doesn't make sense to have certain skills here because there's no industry for it, and it doesn't make sense to create or develop an industry for it. So you need to diversify away and create other opportunities. A lot of people have stayed away. A lot of people have left over the last couple of years because of inflation and the economic situation. But everybody wants to come back, right? Everybody wants to go home
Of
eventually.
course.
You have
Yeah.
that, like, you have that feeling that you always want to go home, but if the circumstances aren't there, then you're not going to come back. So I'm trying to create those circumstances. That is what I'm primarily focused on. Create the ecosystem and the circumstances for people to be able to come back, in the same way that they'd be able to work remote. Is basically, if you have innovation taking place here, and if you have the economic circumstances and the salaries, in collaboration with foreign companies here, and technologies here that can pay those salaries, wages that people can afford to actually have a normal living standard here,
Yeah.
then you create economic conditions, or the conditions in as a whole, for people to come back. They need to see development. The country needs to be developed. Someone like half of our population left in the 80s after a revolution, um, and half of our population still lives in the Netherlands. So
Yeah.
it's a challenge in itself.
Yeah, and it sounds a little bit
Yes.
similar to the problems that exist also in El Salvador. You already talked about it a bit, but where a lot of people are working abroad and sending remittances to their families living in El Salvador, is this also happening to Suriname? To all the people that live now in the Netherlands, for instance.
Yeah, definitely. There are a lot of people in the Netherlands that send money back to their families. So remittances is I think 6.8% or something of GDP. So about 160 million annually. Don't hold me to that number. I need to double check if it's the right year even. But yeah, there are a lot of remittances going back and forth. Primarily right now they use Western Union and banking if they can, but it takes 3 days, 3 to 5.
And how old were those people that left in the 80s? Were they in their 20s or 30s or something?
In the 80s, it was primarily, it was actually diversified. It was people at high school level. So let's say between 17, 18, 16. Some people
Yeah.
left with their
Yeah.
kids. So younger people also went with their parents. It was a lot of the intellectuals of the country as well, because it was a politically unstable climate.
Yeah.
So they left in diversified ranges.
But it's natural for people to want to come back. So if things are changing, then of course,
Yeah.
this can
Yeah.
change. Well, it's a nice bridge to head over to Bitcoin Sranan, because it's inspired by successful circular economies, and we were talking a little bit about that. Example, of course, Bitcoin Beach, but there are a lot more examples. What specific aspects of these models did you find most applicable for Suriname?
So I went to El Salvador in 2021, adopting Bitcoin, to learn from the circular economy there and what was happening there, and actually go to the conference and see what was coming out of the conference. And I took learnings from what they did there. But for example, we don't have um, a lot of tourists constantly coming in and paying for services. Also,
Yeah.
that creates a certain dynamic that I don't think is for example, that can prevent gentrification in those countries. So that is a problem that we're trying to prevent with our circular economy. We don't want to focus it solely on tourism. Like, if Bitcoiners can come and spend money, great, but it should not be dependent on that, right? It shouldn't be dependent on donations, shouldn't be dependent on tourism. But we do want to attract more tourists, because that is also a part of our economy. We have a beautiful interior. It's similar to Singapore. We have waterfalls, beautiful lakes, rivers. We have a diverse in very, very biodiverse jungle and Amazon rainforest. So there's a lot to see here. It's not very well known internationally, so we're kind of like a hidden gem still. So there's a lot of untouched natives, villages, a lot of untouched nature that are decades old, that is still in the interior. So there's a lot to do, but we don't want to focus the building of the circular economy on that. We want to empower the people, and we want to use Bitcoin to empower development of those people. For example, I've also looked at Motive in Peru and how they developed, right? But that is also more based on donations. El Salvador also started with donations. So how do you create a circular economy that is self-sustainable, and then can basically take care of itself without being dependent on foreign donations. And how do you prevent, for example, people coming in, buying massive amounts of property and then making it unaffordable for the locals, right? So I take a different approach. I use Bitcoin as the core, and then the core of economics in Bitcoin is, of course, the mining. That's where Bitcoin gets generated. You convert energy directly into Bitcoin. So we need a mining component here. That is what I'm working on. And then that should feed into the circular economy. We're working on a project in Kwamalasemutu that I can share a little bit more about if it's relevant.
Cool. And can you elaborate on the primary goals of the Bitcoin Sranan project and in Suriname, if it's not attracting tourists, for instance, and maybe talk about the mining project.
Well, it's all right. Well, it's to increase Bitcoin adoption, but in a way that you build a system that is better than the current system, right?
Yeah.
The Bitcoin was started after the 2008 crisis, so we want to build a new system from the ground up, solely on Bitcoin. So there is, for example, in Kwamalasemutu, which is a village in the south of Suriname. It's completely isolated from the city. Kwamalasemutu has about 1,700 people. It's the main village. The chief lives there. They have no financial infrastructure, and it takes about 3 days for them to travel to the city, or they need to fly, and a ticket is unaffordable. So it is completely isolated. It doesn't have anything from legacy financial markets. So you can build, from scratch, from the ground up. So we've been working on mining there with a company and the local solar company in Suriname that builds the solar grids for these villages, and Amazon conservation team who's worked with these villages and developing sustainable models for the locals to be able to be self-sustaining. So for example, stingless honeybees for a particular type of antibiotic. That is what, one of the projects that Amazon conservation team launches there. Projects for energy. So they supply solar already, and they already supply, for example, water and clean water, build clean water services. So we integrated Bitcoin into that concept, and it actually makes solar more sustainable. So I worked very closely with a foreign company, a US company actually, that's focused on mining, and the local engineering firm that develops the solar grids and executes the local solar grids, and with Amazon conservation team on how to frame the policies and develop a model that can be sustainable long term without outside donations or needing outside funding. Of course, it doesn't happen for free. Like, the mining component of it needs to be financed. So we're working with investors on that as well.
Yeah, cool. And how does this all bring together and promote the adoption of Bitcoin and Lightning Network across those local communities?
We use Bitcoin. So the Bitcoin wallets. We use fork of the Galoy stack. We're actually building a separate front end right now connected to their backend APIs to be able to onboard that village and use what they need, make it as user friendly as possible, and for their use case, so that they have something that they can use to trade easily, but also trade internationally. Because, for example, one of the sustainability projects is jewelry, but we don't want to be dependent on tourism for jewelry. We don't want rich Americans to come in, buy property around the village, and sometimes buy some jewelry. We want something that's sustainable. So we help them to create a sustainable model to purchase or sell those jewelry internationally, not just to Bitcoiners, but to anyone, basically. And then use Lightning as the payment method to make it easier. But for them, just being able to pay each other and be able to attach a price to a product, that is something that is important to them. And revenues from the mining flow back to that community.
Cool.
So that you basically have the production, the mining component is producing Bitcoin for a community fund, and then that can be used to develop other ways for that community to be self-sustainable.
Yeah. And for this to succeed, of course, you need to also educate local communities and that village, for example, about the benefits of Bitcoin technologies. How do you tackle challenges like technological illiteracy or accessibility with the internet, of course, because it's further away or something? How do you do that? Is it something that you do on your own, or do others help you with it?
So right now we have 80%, no, I'm sorry, 160% mobile penetration. Internet penetration should be around 80%. TED, the same company that does the solar grids at these villages, also installed the mobile towers. So these villages have mobile towers, they have data, they have internet connectivity. So they're already used to using cell phones and using internet. And, they're all familiar with Facebook because Surinamese people love Facebook. But we also use NFC cards for if you're not connected to the internet, basically. And the educational component, I've translated my Bitcoin diploma to Dutch already, or we've had that translated. We work with Mi Primer, or we're already talking to Mi Primer to get educators at those at schools at that village, on the Mi Bitcoin diploma, so they can give the Bitcoin educational aspect of it to it. But I don't feel like that should be like a hindrance or a component. We teach them by using, like they can actually use it very easily. And
it exists.
Improves
it
their
is
lives.
there, and they're just using it, and that makes it visible for them that it works, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. But of course, the component that is important right now is making sure that mining is there, because honestly, just raising capital or donations constantly is not a sustainable model, right?
No, it is. Yeah.
You're always going to be dependent on donations. Whereas if this community can be just empowered and have their own source of income and be sustainable, for example, TED, the same engineering firm, is already working on a fishing expedition component. So they're going to be creating fishing expeditions annually. They're doing the research and site inspections right now. So they develop lodges. The locals can manage those lodges, do the tours, work with the fishing expeditions, and the lodges themselves. For example, when the solar isn't being used for that, when it's off season, for example, then it will be used for mining, and that also flows to the village. So we have a really great team on the ground that's working on that since May, and that's advancing. So it looks promising.
Sounds great. You have so much things you're working on here in Suriname, but the one thing that really stood out for me is the Fruits for Sats program. Maybe you can elaborate a bit about what Fruits for Sats program is, what you guys are doing, and who you are reaching with that program, because I think it's a very nice project.
Yeah, so in following El Salvador and how that developed and how it was developing over time, I learned about Praia Bitcoin through their Twitter and saw how circular economies were increasing. And I looked at Praia Bitcoin. I spoke to Fernando in Prague. Actually, I met him in Prague at the BTC Prague conference. He then showed me the POSs. I told him that we need POSs. He showed me the POS and how it worked. I told him I need this and I need this in Suriname. And I told him I want to do the Fruits for Sats program, but we're running into, how do you get it at schools? How does the program actually work? So he explained how it worked, and then we implemented it here. But one of the major challenges is donations, getting the funds to be able to run that program continuously.
Yeah. And what kind of impact have you already observed in the children and broader community since the introduction of Fruit for Sats?
So, for example, we got feedback from one of the teachers, and she said that the kids are performing better in school, they're growing faster, They're lighting up. They wait for us every day when the team goes to deliver fruits. So they're very excited about it. It has improved their lives. And these are kids that have, they weren't able to be at other orphanages. They weren't, they've been abused and faced several forms of abuse. And this is the only place where they could still stay. So it's great to see the impact that donations can have. We've received, hundreds of people have donated, more than 500 people donated from all over the world to this little orphanage with only 12 kids. And we were able to bring them fruits every day. We bought them kites, the team plays with them, and it's very fulfilling. It was the only thing that actually during the conferences kept me hopeful. I was like, I fucking hate networking. All of this is bullshit. Why do I need to do all of this? And then I had like this little flicker of hope coming from back home, constantly like seeing the kids and seeing, everything, like something actually being built and happening. That gave me hope.
Yeah. That's
Otherwise,
amazing.
I would have given up. I swear to God.
We heard the gong, but as we're talking about this, I think it's important to know there's a Geyser campaign that you set up. And what is the goal for Fruits for Sets? Because this is Tamara, it's called, right? The Kinderthuis. Yeah. So it's run there. But what do you want more? Because this is a great campaign.
So we have two separate campaigns. We have the BTC Pay Server campaign, which is Bitcoin Sranan as a whole. And then we have the one on Geyser Fund, which is specific to each orphanage. So it's easier to track, where the funds are flowing to what project. We started with Tamara to actually test how it all works and make sure that we can actually execute it. We want to scale it to more orphanages. For that, you need either more funding or more donations. So we're looking for sources of funding, talking to miners to donate, so we can scale that project. And also, while we still work on our own mining component here, that will take a couple of months to get off of the ground. So to keep the program running right now, we're focused on Tamara, but it would really help if we could get more donations,
of course,
to scale to other orphanages and increase usage among other people.
We'll make sure that we put the link in the show notes, right, Edward? For the Geyser
on the
fund.
Geyser platform, and then we're going to put it in. Fruits for Sets. All right. Well, we had more questions, but maybe some other time. And I hope that if we speak again on a podcast, then Fruits for Sets is on multiple Kinderthuis. It would be awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, we still have one question left for you,
right.
Maya, but you may choose yourself. So we prepared 3. We had one from Moritz. He is working for Albi. Lee Selminen, he is from Bitcoin Jungle in Costa Rica. And Quinten de Bakker, he is also working for Albi. So you may choose one of them.
Maybe Albi can sponsor, right?
That would be good. But let's go with Lee. I'm curious to see what he asked.
Lee, here it comes.
Hey, this is Lee from Bitcoin Jungle, and my question is, are you a hodl or a spend and replace type of person, and why?
I'm seriously a hodler. I hodl for dear life. No, I also spend sats, but I do. I have like my stacks, and each stack has a specific, purpose, and I don't touch my hodl stack. Never. Under no circumstances. No. So that is the untouched stack.
Yeah, but I mean it's difficult, right? Because the hodl stack is I think that's the stack with the multi-sig and all, and it's so difficult to spend from. In my case,
which is good.
Yeah, which is perfect. So you have to have I have also a Lightning wallet with just a couple of bucks on it, and I always sometimes use a BL3P, the European Bitcoin Exchange. I can transfer sats to that wallet, and that's my spend stack, right? Yeah. So
I do fund everything out of pocket, so I have been going into my stack a lot to fund these things. But yeah, I have a hodl stack basically.
Nice. Good. Thank you.
Conecta el mundo.
Thank you.
So where can people follow you, Maya? Maybe you can. Yeah, I mean, let's first talk about Fruits for Sets. It's on Geyser.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're familiar with the platform, just go to Geyser and then you type in Fruits for Sets. I can imagine.
You can type in Bitcoin Sranan, and
Sranan.
I saw it on the profile that you had 2 campaigns. So one of them is Fruits for Sets.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And where can people follow you more, Maya?
On Twitter. We post most updates on Twitter. We also have a Telegram group chat where we discuss, everything that's happening, and release any updates. And most updates when applicable, I post them on Twitter or share them on Twitter.
Okay, cool. And I just found out that you forgot something, Edward. We have a
see it
prize to
here.
give away. I'm telling everyone to listen to the whole episode, and we will give away 2 tickets to the conference in Suriname. And all of a sudden, we are almost at the end of the podcast. So excuse me,
this is the
Maya.
time.
Maya, you're giving away 2 tickets for the great conference held in Suriname. We talked about it in the small talk, the beginning of the podcast. What do people need to do to make a chance to win those tickets?
Well, to share the tickets, they need to tweet, repost. Connect the World will be, I assume, doing a tweet specifically to give away the tickets. So you need to repost, share, like. Tell as many friends as you can, or tag as many friends as you can. And tell us why you'd like to come. And you need to, when you come here, you need to orange pill at least 5,000 people. That's the goal.
5,000, okay. And
that's easy.
Each person, it's 2 tickets, so 10,000 people. That's my what I'm giving as a job when you're here.
Cool.
Awesome.
Nice, thanks.
That would be great. Yeah, thanks again. And to everybody else, thanks for listening. Thanks for the members who participating in the Satoshi Radio Rings of Fire. And of course, thanks to everyone helping to connect the world with us. If you like our content, then please support us in our mission. Visit our website, connecttheworld.live, where you can also donate and subscribe, like, and share our content on your favorite platform. Choose yourself. Everything is good. And we need you to complete our mission. Connect the world. So keep those nodes running, sets flowing, and rings burning. And see you all next week on the same Lightning channel. Tot ziens, Maya.
De groeten, Maya.
Ciao.